What's up, guys? Today we're breaking down the best quarterback performance I graded all week. Baker Mayfield. I know it's crazy. And I've been high on Baker Mayfield, much higher than most of the rest of the public for a long time, but even I didn't think he'd play this well. But since going down to Tampa, he's been performing at a really high level despite really bad coaching, let's call it a mediocre offensive line, and a ton of drops. In this game, Baker Mayfield got an A-plus grade, best of the week of the about 10 quarterbacks I graded. And I don't know how, but PFF gave him a 60 passing grade. That means that PFF thinks that he was about average as a passer in this game, and I don't see it. So we're going to dive into the film. We're going to figure out exactly what went wrong. Now, PFF thinks that Baker Mayfield had 2 turnover-worthy plays. I saw one, the interception. I'll explain when we get to the film, but the fumble, I didn't think was a fumble at all. And it didn't matter in the game, so I don't think they reviewed it too carefully. Additionally, PFF said that Baker had 0 big-time throws. Now, typically, you guys know my grading scale. Typically, elite throws are always big-time, and great throws are usually big-time, but not always. I think in this game there were at least 3 great throws, all of which should have been big-time. And I think that you could argue there was as many as 5. We'll get into it. The ball placement is iffy here and there, but there's at least 3, and I'll break them down for you. Otherwise, it's undeniable. Baker Mayfield was accurate on 81.5% of his aimed passes. One of those I graded as bad on the chart, but as I explained in the video, I think it was actually a throwaway. But remember, I'm always extra critical of Baker because I know that people think I'm biased towards him, and I want to correct for that. So even assuming everything Baker does that's iffy is actually the worst end of iffy, he still played really well. I don't know how you can come away from this thinking that Baker was an average NFL quarterback in this game. I think he was great. But that's enough talking. I've given you the summary, so if you don't care about the film, you can dip. Otherwise, let's hit the film. So on the first play of the game, the Titans are going to come out and cover 2. They typically expect the Buccaneers to run the ball on first down. They have a relatively heavy box. They have a simple zone coverage. The Buccaneers finally break tendency and actually pass the ball. Forget what happens on the other side of the play. Really all that matters is Godwin out of the slot is running a corner and Evans is running a curl. Now the reason that this is important is because Mike Evans is going to run this curl here, pulling the defender down, which means he's not going to be able to drop into coverage into this void. Also, this safety has to get deep. So Godwin is going to run his corner right in between them, and he's going to get a little bit of separation in front and a little bit of separation behind. When this happens, Baker has to hit him with a really nice throw. But if and when he does, it's going to look really nice. Now you get a little bit of motion, so Baker knows that it's going to be zone instead of man, confirming that it's probably cover 2, and Baker zips the ball in there. Keeps Godwin inbounds, sits him down, 18 yards downfield in between 2 defenders. This is a great throw in my opinion. One of 4 that I believe PFF mistakenly didn't call a big-time throw. PFF thought there were 0 big-time throws in this game. I saw 4. That's one of them. Ironically enough, Baker's second throw, also going to be big time. Watch as Baker rolls left and throws a dart to Mike Evans, and again, about 18, 20 yards downfield. Now, this isn't going to be as much of a perfect matchup play. On the first play, the Buccaneers just called the perfect play for that defense. On this play, Baker Mayfield just makes a really nice throw. Right? There is a defender over top, so Baker does have underneath leverage, making it an open throw. However, while rolling left, it is difficult to have that much velocity. It looks really easy because the safety's behind Mike Evans, but it looks easy because Baker gets the ball in there with so much velocity, the safety doesn't have time to crash down and make it a contested catch at all. Third dropback rather, more play action, and you can see Baker's at the top of his rush, or at the top of his dropback. There's already a very significant rush. He could theoretically get the ball out to Godwin, but it's probably too late, and that's probably not going to be a very fruitful endeavor anyway. This is Godwin. It's really his only open receiver because these two are totally covered. You've got two defenders here. Godwin probably gets tackled for maybe a gain of 1 or 2. Baker's best bet is to throw this ball away. However, I don't blame him for getting sacked by the tandem of Jeffrey Simmons and Danico Autry. They've been playing awesome this year. The Titans' defensive line is fantastic. So, third down, as usual, Bucs come out and empty, top of the drop. Who's open? Well, it's certainly not getting you a first down, but you got somebody pretty damn open there, and you can also hit the flat. Baker goes deep, and that's just terrible. And when I was watching this live, I actually made the comment to my friend, as soon as I saw Baker double clutch right there, I knew this ball was going to be underthrown. Pick. Totally inexcusable. If Baker Mayfield lets this ball go on time and he throws it as deep as he should towards the back of the end zone, right here, you're even, he's leaving. It's a safety on a speed receiver. Throw that ball up deep. Now, not the best tracking by the receiver, but a worse throw by Baker. Again, completely inexcusable. It wasn't difficult to understand what was happening. It wasn't a difficult throw. This is just really, really bad. Here from the tight copy, hopefully you'll see. Right here, Baker does that little double clutch, and again, that's when you know that he's off his back foot. He's going to float the ball. It's going to go the other way. Shame, because he started off the drive really well. This play's pretty upsetting. Top of the drop, it is a two-man route, max protection. I don't understand what the Buccaneers are doing here. This is poor offensive coordinating by Canales again, and nobody's really open. Like, it looks like Godwin's open, but you got to realize that Baker's on the far hash mark, and that 10-yard throw is going to have to travel roughly 30 yards to get to the receiver. That's how you throw pick sixes. So Baker does a good job of just throwing the ball away, living to fight another day. Now, I believe that this is a throwaway instead of just a bad throw because you'll see Baker is still in the pocket. He doesn't have time to escape when he's getting pressured, and he just gets the ball out. The way his arm comes down, either this is an extremely skittish throw, or he's just trying to get the ball in the direction of a receiver but not catchable so as not to throw a pick six. I believe that's a throwaway and not an inaccurate pass. That's an inaccurate pass. Now, again, Evans was, as usual, a little slow out of his break, but you can't miss like that, right? Like, that's a full 3 steps. Evans is probably a step or 2 behind the play. That is too much. And it's also Mike Evans. Use his size. Don't lead him out that far. Let him make a contested catch when possible. Lord knows he drops the easy ones anyway. Bad pass. Routine. All right, here's a great example of how disguise can really mess up an offense. So see how Trey Palmer motions across from the right side to the slot, and 33 on the defense follows him. That makes the quarterback think it's going to be man coverage. When you use motion, it's typically just to tell the quarterback man or zone. And when you have a cornerback follow, it typically means man. How in this particular case, it does not. So Baker thinks man, and therefore his first read is going to be Chris Godwin on this out at the top of your screen an in. Because those in-breaking routes are meant to throw off the man defender at the top of the route. However, it's actually going to be this funky kind of drop zone where every defender kind of just goes as deep as that fifth of the field requires them to. And that means that Trey Palmer running this deep over route is going to be the perfect throw. And it would be open 15-yard gain, easy, plus probably some yak. Watch how this plays out, because if Baker had known it was zone, if it wasn't covered up and disguised, even across the motion, this would have been a huge play. See how Trey Palmer just gets right behind that second level in front of the safety? It would have been just like the first 2 plays of the game. So it's a routine throw, but it could have been a huge game if not for the Titans doing a really good job of disguising their man coverage, instead going for a weird fog match zone. Whoever's in the booth for the Bucs saw this and ran substantially the same play, just to the other direction on the very next rep. So it's 3rd and 5, and the Bucs are going to throw the deep over to Trey Palmer. And here I'll show you the tight copy so you can see just how close this was to being caught. Right? That's squarely in both of the hands. This is a solid, if not great throw, and arguably one that PFF should have graded as big time. You could argue that it shouldn't be big time just because the ball placement wasn't perfect. You could also argue that instead of jumping to catch this ball at the high point, Trey Palmer should have continued to run upfield under the ball and catch it in stride. You could also argue Trey Palmer needs to catch this ball that he gets 2 hands on anyway. You can make a lot of arguments. Regardless, it is a very good, if not great throw, 20 yards downfield, splitting the coverage, dropped. Here, the Buccaneers are going to run a gimmick play, really. Like, Baker has one read, avoids pressure, gets the ball out, plus move, routine play. Watch the deep out to Mike Evans at the bottom of the screen. 5, 10, 15, 20 yards downfield. Again, 3rd down, 20 yards downfield. Wide open, but great arm strength. Accurate throw, solid. It's not great. It's not a great throw just because the coverage wasn't very tight. But good job by Baker. Again, the motion identifies that it's zone. He signals it's zone. Mike Evans is the read. Wide open. All right, so on this play, I gave Baker a negative run because I thought that it was a bad decision to run the ball here. It's a bootleg left, right? And nothing's particularly open right here. And this is where Baker needs to be throwing the ball because he's finally got his feet set. Evans is a non-factor downfield. In fact, he stops running completely. And Godwin's not really open. But 2 options. 1, throw the ball away. It's only 1st down. Or 2, try to thread that ball into Godwin on the inside. Now, when we see the tight copy, we'll get a better view of exactly what Baker's looking at regarding Godwin. And I think that was a better play than trying to run. So right here, on the wide copy, it looks like Godwin's totally covered. But if Baker puts that ball right around where this ellipse is, I think that he can complete it because the cornerback has outside leverage and that linebacker's flat-footed and not making that good of a play. And I think Baker knows that. You can see right here he's winding up to throw the ball. He just isn't letting go of it. And so here he tries to run, and he's not a great athlete. He's just a mediocre one, and he ends up losing a couple yards and taking a hit, whereas he could have thrown the ball away and had an extra yard to play with and not gotten hit. Or he could have tried to hit Godwin. Here, really good throw. It's solid. It's very tight coverage. It's 11 or 12 yards downfield. Baker Mayfield continues to be excellent from empty. The Bucs should run a hell of a lot more of it. That's a great throw. That's the only place that ball can be caught. This play is unfortunate. Now, Baker's going to... This is the play where Baker fumbles or maybe doesn't fumble, but as you can see at the top of his drop, nobody's open. Not even close. And in fact, the tight end and the running back at the bottom of the screen have basically rendered each other moot because they're in the same exact place, so one defender can cover both of them. This is a really poor play design, and honestly, it's not great route running by his receivers either. None of them have managed to do anything. So Baker has to step up, and that's the right thing, right? The correct option is to run the ball here. But Baker needs to cut that ball outside and run towards the sideline. He's got a lot of room to work with. I have no idea why he would instead cut up the middle of the field. Now, right here, he gives himself up, and he has the ball. So I don't really think this should be a fumble. Let's watch it from the tight copy and see if anything changes. Right? So again, right here, he needs to cut that ball outside and take his chances with 51 catching him from behind. But as you can see, he's down, or he's at least, it's not about where he's down, it's about where he begins giving himself up. Right? And he begins giving himself up when he starts to get down. So right here, he's down. Right where it paused. And that's why I don't call it a fumble. Because that is a slide. And under the new rules, any giving up on the play, any forfeiture is a slide. And whenever you begin the slide, you're down. He's down before he even gets to the ground. And therefore, not a fumble. Here, what a throw. This is a really good throw. This is a solid throw. But I want you to see the tight copy because Mike Evans just drops it again. Like this is becoming a real issue with Mike Evans. You have to catch that, especially as a possession receiver. That's a really good throw. Mike Evans is just washed. So first down, the Buccaneers are actually going to throw the ball. Yippee. Baker at the top of his drop. Godwin's the obvious play. He's throwing the out to the top of the screen. A little late. Right here, the ball needs to be out. And because he's a little late, it gets batted. That's a bad throw. Batted ball. Unfortunate. Be quicker on the throw. If you're a little quicker, the defensive end doesn't have time to get his hands up. See, Baker gets that ball batted not because he's short, but rather because he didn't make a decision quick enough. Now here, Baker is going to make a really nice throw on 2nd and 10. I take it back. That's exaggeration. This should have been a touchdown. Could have been a touchdown. It's a tough throw. Line of scrimmage is the 50, let's call it. Ball to the 26. It's a 25-yard throw. Baker needs to hit that. You'll see right here, they're even. That means the receiver's leaving. So right here, receiver has absolutely got the cornerback beat. Instead, Baker doesn't have faith in his receiver and throws a jump ball figuring that they'll be neck and neck the whole way. If he puts that ball out in front, Trey Palmer can run under it, cook the cornerback, and score a touchdown. Instead, Baker makes him jump for it. And it still should be a catch, and it's a good ball. It's a deep downfield jump ball. But he made it more difficult on Trey Palmer than it needed to be, and Trey Palmer never needed to break stride to catch this ball if Baker had simply chosen the right throw. Again, it should be a catch, but it's a tough catch. And that's why it's a good ball, not a great ball. It requires the receiver to do something really good. It's a jump ball. No matter, because on 3rd and 10, Baker's going to go do the same damn shit, but this time to Mike Evans. And this time, again, see, this is the problem. Earlier in the year, Baker Mayfield was overthrowing balls on deep passes left and right. Like, remember that terrible Lions game? Every deep ball was overthrown. And so I'm pretty sure it's been a coaching point. Hey, the worst thing you can do on a deep ball is overthrow it. If you're going to miss, underthrow it, because then your receiver can make a play. So right here, Mike Evans, of all people, is burning the corner again. You need to put that ball out front. But Baker has a lot of bad experiences already this year with trying to lead his receivers deep. So instead, he turns what should have been a touchdown. Remember, if you put this ball at like the 5-10 yard line, Mike Evans will walk under it, catch it, touchdown. Instead, he leads Mike Evans inside on an underthrow, making sure that Mike Evans can get to the ball, but preventing him from scoring a touchdown. It's a great throw. It's really deep downfield, and he ensured a completion, right? He made sure he gave himself a higher percentage of completing the pass and taking the first down conversion at the cost of sacrificing a sure touchdown. And I think that's a smart play, but it's not an elite throw. And here on 3rd down, Baker Mayfield should get the touchdown to Mike Evans he was looking for, but Mike Evans just drops it. Egregious. It's a solid throw. I mean, like, he's wide open in the middle of the field. It's only about 10 yards downfield. It's a perfectly accurate throw, but it's not particularly impressive. Sorry, that was 2nd down. 3rd down, this is just, what the fuck is this? So there's the top of the drop. Baker gets the ball out on time, and I don't know. Is Mike Evans not running the right route? Is Mike Evans getting out of the break too late? This is just a broken play. I'm not going to spend too much time figuring out who fucked up what. This is a bad throw. Like, we know Mike Evans is bad out of breaks, and if you're Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans is your star receiver, you've got to be comfortable with that and underthrow his breaks, right? Let him jump rather than run under the ball. Baker Mayfield also might have just fucking missed. He might have gotten jittery and thrown it too early. It's a bad play. All right, the Buccaneers have gotten comfortable with their lead, and they want to chew clock, so they run on first and second down to absolutely no avail, and Baker Mayfield on third and long, per usual, throws a nice ball to Mike Evans. This is a solid throw. You're going to see it's right over the middle, but Baker Mayfield does a good job of getting it past the second-level defender, and that includes putting a ton of zip on it so that even though the defender gets a fingertip on it, it's not enough to actually knock it out of orbit. Right? The more zip and the more spiral you put on a ball, the harder it is to knock it away from its trajectory. So Baker does a really good job of throwing through the traffic of the defensive line, and then it does get nicked by the defender, but because it's thrown so hard, it doesn't leave course, and Mike Evans is able to catch it. It's a solid ball. By the way, that's a little physics hack for you. That's actually why it's harder to fall off your bike when going fast than it is when going slow. Speaking of fast, right here, Baker Mayfield, another 15, 20-yard out route. Crazy arm strength. Like, not a lot of quarterbacks can run these kinds of plays. Line of scrimmage is the 30, let's call it the 45. Ball's at the 28. Almost a 20-yard out route from the far hash. Easily. Zip, no wind-up, beautiful. Good throw. Little play action. Baker Mayfield rolls out, trying to make something with Trey Palmer, and Trey Palmer does a really good job here on the scramble drill. Watch this little stop-and-go move he gives him, right? Because it's originally a curl, and it's really hard to do scramble drill off of a curl. Like, he's done. That's kind of a hook-out curl. So Palmer fakes like he's going to go deep and then comes right back. That's an awesome job by Palmer. Plus move and routine throw from Baker. That's really good stuff. Like, that's the kind of stuff that makes me excited about Trey Palmer, and I think that he can be a good wide receiver too one day. All right, this is probably my favorite throw of this game, so we're going to diagram it up nice. All right, you see how Chris Godwin's in motion? The fact that the defense doesn't move with him tells you it's probably zone. So the way this play is going to work is your primary read is going to be Trey Palmer in the middle here running this deep corner. Now, if it's going to be cover 3, middle of the field closed, like this, then Trey Palmer's job is going to be to drag this defender up and out of the way so that Mike Evans can get hit with the ball right around here. And you get down to like the 5-yard line. We know it's probably not going to be cover 2, but if it's cover 4 like this, then the idea is going to be that Mike Evans is going to occupy this defender, so you're going to want to hit Trey Palmer right here when he's in between these two safeties. However, Baker astutely reads that it will indeed be cover 3, which means Mike Evans is going to be the primary receiver on that dig route deep downfield, right? Let's watch it play out for real. So it's working out exactly as we thought it might unfold, right? This defender over here, he can't match up with Mike Evans because he's got to worry about this whole area of the field just in case. Now, a really good cornerback says, forget the play, I'm going to cover the man. Grass has never scored a touchdown. Wide receivers often do. However, not all cornerbacks are great. Now, again, watch, because everything's worked perfectly. Trey Palmer pulls that deep middle safety all the way out of the way, and now Mike Evans is running underneath pretty open. Now, this corner is closing. He did a pretty good job of realizing that grass doesn't score touchdowns, but that 2 steps of hesitation is enough to create separation for Mike Evans. And that separation for Mike Evans is enough for Baker to nail him with a line drive. Watch how fast this ball gets on him. Right? This is a remarkable arm talent throw. Baker's feet are at the 30. The line of scrimmage is at about the 20. Excuse me. Line of scrimmage was at about the 25. Baker lets go of this ball at the 30 when Mike Evans is at the 13-yard line, let's say. Baker throws the ball 30 yards over the course of 3 yards for Mike Evans. That is a laser. That's really good zip, really good arm talent. Not a lot of guys in the NFL have that. And because the ball is put so perfectly on Mike Evans and the play is read so well pre-snap by Baker Mayfield, this great throw ends up being a touchdown. Again, PFF did not think this was a big-time throw. They thought that was easy. They thought that that was soft coverage. They thought that that was not that far downfield. I don't know what the hell they're looking at. That's a great throw. Routine. So remember earlier how I said that Baker is actively trying not to overthrow the ball? That's what happens when he doesn't actively underthrow the ball. Baker's deep ball has been weird this year. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, he can't hit dudes in stride. That's why I'm plenty happy with him settling for the safer throw. To the same receiver. Obviously, I want the deep ball, but underthrow a little bit, let him moss dudes. It's Roger McCreary, who's 5'8", on Mike Evans, who's not. Let him use that height. Here, Baker gets to the top of his drop on third down, and honestly, he could have hit this curl. It's poor anticipation that Baker hasn't thrown the ball to this curl already, honestly. But Baker's late, and he doesn't see it in time, so now it's over, you gotta run. And Baker does a good job of running. Picks up the first down, solid like 10 yards-ish. It's a positive run. Good job. Not every play is going to have a perfect read. No quarterback in the NFL does that, not even Justin Herbert. So the fact that Baker Mayfield can make do with plan B is impressive. Nobody can be perfect. And in this game, despite Baker's really good accuracy on deep balls earlier, he's going to miss here. Otten's open. Put the ball up. It's a tight end on a cornerback. Use your height advantage. Instead, Baker misses. He just throws deep. Nobody else is really open. So it's not like he's missing out on any easier touchdowns or he's making a bad read. Like, the slant over the middle is going to be open right there in the middle of the screen. But this is the right play. You got the corner to Otten. He's open. Hit him. I thought Baker Mayfield played really well. And this is the second straight week that I've given Baker Mayfield an A+. I thought he was killer against Houston. I thought he was killer against Tennessee. And overall in this season, he's had one game that wasn't good. He was below average against Detroit because he missed all those deep balls. And if he would have hit even just one, they could have won that game. But alas, he didn't. They didn't. He played bad. Everybody has bad games. The thing that separates Baker Mayfield from everybody else right now is that he's only had the one bad game. Again, it's week 10, and he's got 2 A+, an A, a bunch of B+, and 1 C. That means his average grade, his GPA, if you will, is 3.42. And he's got 7 great games. That's unreal. No other quarterback is on that kind of pace. And I'm not saying that I would rather have Baker Mayfield than, say, Justin Herbert or Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. I'm not necessarily saying that at all. I still think that Justin Herbert is the guy you want to start a franchise with today if there was a fantasy draft. That being said, I think Baker Mayfield is playing quarterback the best of anybody in the NFL right now. Check it out. I mean, which game do you disagree with? I've been making the videos for almost all of them. This kind of play is really good. And it's not just that he's making a lot of big throws and he's scoring a lot of points. He's also doing it despite the fact that his offensive coordinator only really lets him throw on 3rd and long. So it's high pressure, weak offensive line, constantly having to try to create, constantly operating under a ton of pressure, and he's coming up clutch. His deep ball could still use work. It's not great. It's not as good as I thought it would be. It's not as good as we've seen it in the past. But I'm sure that he'll figure that out, and I think that in this game we saw the steps toward doing just that. What do you guys think? Am I wrong? Which throws do you think I was too high on? Because apparently PFF doesn't think any of these were great. Which throws do you think I was too critical on? Because there were a few where it went off the receiver's hands and I downgraded it just because the ball placement could have been better. Hit me in the comments. Let me know who you want to see me do a video of next this week. And like and subscribe. I never say that, but I haven't been getting that many new subscribers lately. So until next time, I'll be grinding film. Hasta.